Yo, what's up guys? KG, Rough to be Buff TV. I have a super special guest for you guys today. Physical therapist, a really good friend of mine. I've been trying to get him on my channel for some time now. The stars have aligned. My buddy Ziad is here. If you probably have been following some of my gym diaries, he's the guy who's been working on me. He's helped my foot get better. He's helped a ton of different athletes, older general population, younger, weekend warriors. He is my PT guy. He's the guy I go to when I need advice, because collaboration is a huge part of our game. So Ziad and I are collaborating today. We'll be collaborating in the future as well, talking about some compound movements and then also some accessory movements. But today we are strictly talking about Ziad. We're back. It's interview time. I think it's been 4 or 5 months since I've done my last interview, so I'm excited to bring you this one. There's going to be a wealth of knowledge for you guys today. So thanks for tuning in. KG, roughest to be buffest to be TVest place on earth. Can't wait. Thanks for tuning in. I always like to do a speed round. Okay, so these are going to be 10 questions. Answer as quickly as you possibly can.
Okay.
Okay. Food.
Okay. Food. Japanese food is my favorite.
Dessert.
Ice cream.
Athlete.
Kobe.
Superhero.
Say Batman.
Comedian.
Dave Chappelle.
Movie.
Shawshank Redemption.
Cartoon.
Simpsons.
Favorite talk show host.
Jon Stewart.
Spirit animal.
Zebra.
Favorite person in the whole world.
My wife.
Ziad, your first and last name and your job title.
Ziad Dahdul. I'm a physical therapist. I own Ignite Phyzio and Sports Performance, concierge PT sports performance practice.
So where do you offer your services?
So I offer my services 3 locations, primarily here at Next Level Sport and Fitness La Habra, inside Athletics in Brea, and then inside a gym called The Warehouse in La Mirada.
Awesome, so you're all over the place.
All over North Orange County, man.
You consider yourself like a concierge service.
Yeah.
Why did you start doing that?
You know, I worked in traditional PT for 8+ years, a little over 8 years, and the issue I ran into is I just never felt like I had time to give to people. Like, you know, we as PTs, we technically have the most time to spend with our patients compared to other healthcare providers, but you work in settings where it doesn't really allow you to do that, and it gets very difficult to give them the best care you could possibly give them. And so I wanted to create something that was a little bit different. It's that other people have kind of led the way and kind of blazed the path for me, and I kind of was seeing what they were doing and working one-on-one with people and spending more time with them. And I really feel like that is where healthcare should be and where it's going to be going at a certain point. So I really wanted to create that I'm here for you. I'm there for every aspect of your care, and they're never going to doubt where my interests are, because it's never going to be financial. It's always going to be about them.
Cool. And how do you like that from, you know, going to the setting that you were working in before to now?
This is much more work. So by far and away, I work way more hours now than I ever did before.
How many hours a week?
Patient care wise, it's probably close to 40, 35 to 40, and then that's not even including just running a business the back end. So it's like at least 75, 80, 85, somewhere along those lines. But I'm happier now than I ever was before. I'll work double the time doing this because it's much more rewarding than it was before.
And the name of your brand or company again?
Ignite Physio and Sports Performance.
So what inspired you to get into your profession?
I have, you know, a segment of the population I really like working with. I want to work with people who choose to better themselves. So when you work in the traditional environment like I did, some people were like that, but for the most part, it was like, my doctor sent me here. My workers' comp sent me here. Like, they're there because somebody pushed them to go there, not because they wanted to be there and get better. And you feel that while you're rehabbing them. Like, I shouldn't want it more than they want it. And that's what I felt oftentimes with people I used to work with before. But now it's like the people who seek me out, they're spending their hard-earned money, they're spending their time with me, which is very valuable to them. No other reason for me not to give them 100% of me if I know that they're spending those valuable things with me and really trying to go out of their way to have, you know, better lives and be better and healthier.
What is the favorite part about your job?
It's the relationships, not only with my patients, which is 100% there, my clients, but it's with people like you, the trainers here at the different gyms. I get to meet people from like all walks of life. So every one of my gyms is like super different. And this gym is the most eclectic by far because everybody here, all the trainers here have their own niches. They all have their specialties and the things that they're really good at, and I think everybody complements each other well. So to be able to meet all the people, trainers here, all the people at the gym, you know, to be able to work with the people at the different other gyms that all have their ways of doing things and, you know, the interesting things in their life, like, it's awesome.
What is your favorite part of the body to rehab?
The knee, 100%.
Why?
I don't have like an injury that I had in the past. I don't have that experience. So that's what a lot of PTs, 85% of the people you talk to are like, oh yeah, I was in PT when I was in school and that's what drove me to this. I just volunteered at a PT clinic because I didn't know what I wanted to do in undergrad. I thought I was gonna be a business major and I'm like, shit, this is like terrible. It's not for me. Like I'm terrible at this. And I ended up volunteering at a PT clinic and just freaking fell in love with it. And then over the years, I just have a soft spot in my heart for people that suffer an ACL tear and have to have an ACL reconstruction. And so that's always been the injury that I enjoy working with the most by far.
So speaking more on ACL reconstruction, is there a demographic, age, or population that you're seeing this run prevalent?
Yeah, it's youth, 100%, like preteens, teenagers, high school, like college age athletes, up to college age. I mean, it happens in professional sports as well, but it's an epidemic in the middle school, high school realm, and it's most often with the research will show you most often with women versus men.
Why?
There's a lot of factors that go into it. The biggest thing is women don't get treated the same way men do at younger ages because the sports that we play, they strength train and it's prioritized. But back in the day and even now, like it's not a primary focus anymore. And so people will tell you that it's because hips are wider, it's because their hips tend to be weaker, their feet, this and that. But I think the biggest part of it is that we're not challenging them enough from a strength training standpoint and working on their biomechanics well enough. And I think that's a big part of the problem.
What advice would you give to a beginner starting an exercise program?
Go slow. That's the biggest thing. So I think people get turned off from the fitness community and people like me as a whole if we're not managing load. To me, the last couple of years of my career, like load management has been the biggest key to all of these repetitive stress and like acute injuries. And if you're not managing load well, you're starting too quickly, you're not monitoring like your rate of perceived exertion, things like that, that's where injuries happen. And I think it turns people off from wanting to get healthy because they have like a setback in the first couple of weeks they try to get back in the gym.
What advice would you give to an advanced athlete to improve their performance?
I think thinking of themselves as a human being and not just an athlete. So I think oftentimes elite level athletes or people that want to be elite level athletes don't focus on the other things outside of the gym that are important. So they're really good at being in the gym and working their tails off and getting better from that standpoint and working on their skills for whatever sport they play. The biggest thing for me is sleep, nutrition, and stress. And all those things play a significant role in somebody's performance. If they're not managing those things, then it's over. It doesn't matter how talented you are.
Talk more about stress.
Usually it's they're student athletes, so managing their workloads in school, being able to balance studying with having a social life, with being an athlete. It's the things that people have in their lives, whether they have parents that are getting divorced, screwed up on a test, and they carry these things with them without realizing they carry it with them, and the stress levels are going to have a direct impact on their ability to perform. It's just not going to be the same.
What makes you an effective physical therapist?
I think the biggest thing is I just love people, and I think when you truly care about people and they feel that from you and that it's genuine, I don't think it matters how good you are or what you do. I think I just genuinely care about people, and I think my patients and my clients feel that. And I don't think I'm the greatest therapist in the world in terms of a skill standpoint, but I just feel like I'm very good with people, and I just love people. And wanting to genuinely help people is what makes anybody good at what they do.
What advice would you give to someone hiring a personal trainer, a therapist, or a coach?
I'd say do your due diligence. Like I'd say you're interviewing them the same way they're interviewing you. Like it has to be a mutual fit. So like I won't work with somebody, for example, in my case, I don't want to work with somebody who's not ready to commit to the process, because it's going to reflect negatively on me if they don't get the results that they're looking for and the outcomes that they want. And that's not the reason why I don't want them to that I would be mad about them not getting their outcomes. I want them to succeed. And if you're not vibing with the person, if it's not a good fit, if you're not ready mentally in that space of your life, you're not going to get the outcomes you want. And so I think when you're looking for somebody, it has to be a personality match, has to be somebody that gets you and understands you. And the number one thing is that they listen. If they talk more than you do when you're interviewing them or like seeking them out for their services, then they're the wrong person.
What does your assessment process look like for a potential client or patient?
Usually starts off with a phone call if they're semi-local or it's not easy enough to meet in person. There's always usually like an evaluation or like a consultation process where, like I just was talking about with like finding a good fit. Like I want to make sure we're a good fit first. That's step one. So we talk. I just shut up and I ask them questions and I listen. It's just making sure that I understand what their goals are and what they want to achieve by working with me. And then secondly, we get into the examination, and I'm really big on taking them through functional screens. I don't do a lot of like isolated table stuff. I mean, I still do some of it because there's a time and a place for it, but for the most part, it's like, how are you moving? What's the quality of your movement? Where does your pain come on? That kind of thing. Really getting an idea of what the demands of their life, how that's contributing to like their pain or their dysfunction, or just them not being as strong as they could be.
What are your thoughts on foam rolling?
I think there's a time and a place for it. So I think foam rolling is great as a short-term, make you feel better type thing. It's not a long-term fix. It's not something that's going to cure an issue. The more you roll something out there's a definite sliding scale. The more you roll something out, the less the effects are going to be. There's just a definite, there's no doubt about that, and the research is consistent with that. The biggest thing is making sure that you're only using it as a way to get you to move. If you're only doing foam rolling and then you're not doing anything else, then you're really not doing shit.
What is the biggest mistake people make when starting a fitness routine?
Not seeking help if they're not comfortable is a big one. I think we talked about going too much too fast. But I think not seeking help if you don't know exactly what you're doing. I think having a well-rounded routine. Everybody gets very intimidated walking into like a big box gym, like a 24 or like a place like that. And if you don't know how to use weights properly, you don't know how to move properly, you don't know how to use the equipment, you're gonna get intimidated, you're gonna get discouraged pretty quick. So I think seeking guidance when it's like me trying to go fix my car. I have no fucking clue what I'm doing when it comes to cars. So I'm not gonna go out there and try to start messing around with my engine when I don't know what I'm doing. It's the same thing. I would hire somebody to do that the same way that I think somebody that's not familiar with movement and working out and fitness, they should hire somebody to help them with that.
What do you consider true success with a client or patient?
That they're happy and they've met their goals. That's all that matters. Nothing else matters beyond that.
What separates great gyms or practices from average gyms?
I think the gyms that are really good at what they do don't take themselves too seriously. They have a community, family environment where the people are welcomed and they want to genuinely be there, not just because they're working out or just they have a goal to accomplish, but they genuinely appreciate the people that they're there with. I think the family environment is everything, and if you don't trust who you're there with, it's going to be very hard to get motivated on those down days where you're like, do I really want to get out of bed? Do I really want to go? You're going to be more likely to go if you actually truly care and like the people that you're going to work out with.
You've been a physical therapist for 9 years. Within that time, are there injuries that you see prevalent more now than when you first started?
I'd say a lot more of the overuse injuries in the general population. So like the non-trade related people. There's always been overuse injuries in like the more physically demanding jobs like construction workers, things like that, because they're just doing repetitive things over and over again. I think a lot of it comes down to the intensity of exercising now is, I think, a lot higher in the general population than it ever was before. It's always been high with elite athletes and professional sports. It's never been as high as it is now with the kind of the low barrier to entry with things like CrossFit and like HIIT training and things like that. So there's nothing wrong with those types of training. They're actually fantastic. I think CrossFit's probably the best thing you can do in terms of a bang for your buck. Get a great workout and do it in a very efficient amount of time. The hard part is being able to have people coaching you that know whether you have the prerequisites to do what they're asking you to do or not. And if you don't have the prerequisites, my favorite thing to say is like, anytime the load that you're placing on your body is greater than your capacity to handle it, that's how injury happens. The only way that won't happen is if capacity is higher than load. That's it. It's as simple as that. That's why injury comes up.
If you could only choose 3 exercises, which would you choose and why?
It's like asking me about my favorite kid. 3 exercises. It's a good ass question. How specific does it have to be?
You just tell me your 3, bud. He wants to get down to that.
I'm gonna say single leg squat, because I think it tells me a lot about the person's baseline level of strength, and I think I can do a lot with that exercise. So I think I can turn that into more exercises, because I'm greedy as shit. I'm not gonna only pick 3. So single leg squat's 1. I love the deadlift and the hinge, like the hinge pattern. I think the hinge pattern is everything that translates to not only sport but kind of day-to-day life. So I think there's a lot of it's very applicable to the most amount of people. So I like the hinge pattern. Last one I would say is I go with like a variation of like a scap Y. I go with that.
And what's a scap Y?
So scap Y is, it can be in any kind of position, but essentially it's like with your arms out in a Y position, and you literally try to drive your thumbs straight back behind you. And there's just a lot of intricacy that goes with it, and it's also a very like underworked area in people. So I think that's something that I use a lot with people, is any of that scapular retraction type movement. And I think that's probably one of my favorite ones, because again, there's a lot of variability. I can do a lot of different things with it too.
What is your favorite accessory exercise right now?
Like an eccentric hamstring is probably one that I'm using a lot with people right now, whether it's a Nordic or Nordics are probably one of my favorite preventative and rehab, but I'm using a lot of like bridges with a hamstring walk, or like a slider or like the ball, something along those lines. I love eccentric hamstring strength because I think it gets overlooked way too much. So I've been finding myself focusing a lot on the hamstrings, whereas we get very quad and glute dominant.
What is your least favorite gym etiquette?
I gotta pick one.
Pick one.
Not putting their shit away. It's leaving the fucking weights on the bar. You were just pushing like 200, 300, 400 pounds. You can't get off your ass and put the weights back after you're pushing that weight around. That shit pisses me off probably more than anything else. So, especially on the bench. That's probably the one that pisses me off the most.
Complete this sentence. When I see blank, it really makes me cringe in the gym.
Knee valgus with the way people are doing things at the gym. Knee valgus in and of itself is not bad, but with the way I see people doing things, like with squats, with the leg press, with a lot of different things, like knee valgus is probably the one that makes me shudder the most.
Knee valgus for the layman's is?
Knee valgus is when the knee sort of caves inwards, so your knee sort of drifts to the inside as you're bearing weight on it. And so that's probably the one, just because it can make people susceptible to injury. It doesn't necessarily, but if it's not trained properly, knee valgus can be one of the worst things you can do for yourself under load.
What is your favorite quote?
Movement is medicine. That's how I define my practice. That's how I live my life.
Your favorite book right now?
It's called Start With Why, like W-H-Y, by Simon Sinek. A pretty like philosophical type book about finding the why and finding the reason, your why for why you live your life, why you do what you do. And I read that kind of in my first year of practice, and it reaffirmed why I was doing what I was doing. So that book's got a soft place in my heart for sure.
Who are some of your favorite mentors, lifters, physical therapists, or influencers?
My cousin, her name's Mundry, she owns a practice out in Long Beach. It's called Precision Rehab. And she gave me my first job as a PT. So I saw her doing what she did. I sort of followed in her footsteps. And the way she runs her business is how I always envisioned running my business, in terms of just caring for people. And even if you're leaving revenue on the table, she always does what's right for the person. It doesn't matter whether she's making more money or less money off something. She just does what's right for the person. The financial implications don't ever work into her decisions. And so she's one person that I've always looked up to, like, for the longest time. In terms of PTs, he's probably going to be surprised that I say him as a mentor, but he's a guy that's on the East Coast. He's in New York, and I actually met him through social media. So I've actually never met him in person, but I actually consider him like a really close friend. Like, he's just a genuinely good dude. His name's Russ Manolastis, and he has a practice out in Rochester, New York called Mana Performance Therapy. And so he's a guy that kind of did what I'm doing a little bit before I did. And so him and I've always kind of looked up to the way he's done things, because he does it the right way as well. And he does it in a way where I've always envisioned running my practice as well. And he's really good at what he does. He's a genuine person, and he's just somebody who just busts his ass. He's got 3 kids. He's busy all the time. And he's a guy that you just have a hard time not just looking at and be like, okay, he's somebody I'm gonna look up to for sure. So he's definitely somebody I would say for sure.
What is your vision or mission?
My mission is to educate people on how to move as efficiently as possible, and just getting them out there and moving. I want to get people off the couch. I want to get people to live healthier lives, but I want people to not be fearful of movement, especially people that have dealt with pain for a long time, where they just have this negative misconception that pain is a derivative or a result of movement, wherein that's absolutely 100% not the case. And so, but if they feel that way and they truly believe that, it's going to make them less likely to move. And so my mission is to get as many people moving as effectively and being as healthy as possible so that they can live the life that they want to live.
Where can we find you as far as social media, Instagram, Facebook?
I'm probably most active on social media on Instagram. So my handle on Instagram is Ignite Phyzio. The Phyzio has a Z in it instead of an S, for obvious reasons. That's probably where I'm most active. So you hit me up on there. I get back pretty quick. Website is ignitephysio.com. Check out everything about me and what I do and kind of my mission statement and what my practice is all about. You'll get the most information there as well.
Ziad, thank you so much for your time, buddy.
Appreciate it, bud.
Doing good, brother. What number we on?
19.
20. Easy work, bud. Good reps.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Good.
Oh, dear God. Holy shit.
How many times have you done this on yourself?
This is the second time. Second time ever.
Total.
But with this machine, first time.
First time.
Push, drive, use that leg.
Oh my gosh.
It's like the ultimate dead leg.
It's like the Incredible Hulk, like squeezing your thigh,
Yes.
or King Kong grabbing you.
Oh my goodness.
So you can cuff this around the bicep
You can come
And-
from the bicep to the upper arm.
and the quad.
Oh my gosh.
And you can get the same growth, like the same hormonal response.
Yeah, you release the same type of growth hormone that you would if you're actually like pushing weight around and actually doing like hypertrophy training or strength training. Holy shit.
Science is real, dude.
Science is fucking legit.
It's real.
Oh my gosh. And I was giving you shit for sweating too.
Yeah.
Got the perspiration going. Oh man.
Feels good.
Shit.
And I mean, you could prescribe this for anybody.
Anybody. As long as they are appropriate for it, you can prescribe to anybody.
How's it feel?
It feels extremely worked.
Yeah.
Extremely worked.
How many sets? I mean, is this just a one-time thing?
No, so you could do different exercises. So this could actually, usually it's only on for 20 to 30 minutes at the most. You wouldn't have it on for any more than that, usually.
So total time.
Total time of a workout is like 20 or 30 minutes. So you have to build up to that. So like you just did 4.5 minutes and you were like I'm dead. The next one you would do would be like, you can do like a hinge with a light load.
Or lunge.
Or a lunge.
Or step up.
Or step up. Any of those things. So you do 30, 15, 15, 15 with each exercise.
Gnarly.
So you do 75 reps of each one. My man.
Get part of the quads firing that don't get
Yeah.
no love.
Well,
and you don't have to bear any weight.
And they don't have load on them anymore. Like they're not tolerant to load anymore. So this is how you get them tolerant to load again. That's who I plan on using this with the most. ACL and then my post fracture.